All right, we are back with another video, and that is about Indianapolis Colts trump card. It is not what you think. Let's find out together. We're sitting at 3-3 on the season, coming off a solid win this Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. Joe Flacco continues to impress. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and 189 yards. He's been extremely efficient with football this season. Take a look at his stats. 7 touchdowns says to just 1 interception and currently sitting 4th in QBR at 72. Now, Anthony Richardson is expected to start this Sunday, and it's not necessarily to discredit Richardson. It's more about Flacco playing high-level football right now. It feels like we're forcing the issue when Richardson hasn't really struggled this year. If you look at the first couple of games, specifically the Green Bay matchup, yeah, it wasn't great. And the Texans game, he had his moments, but our passing offense just hasn't been consistent enough. Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr., those guys, have shown up big time in the past 2 weeks, especially with Flacco under center, whereas at the start of the season, it was practically non-existent. The only real threat was Alec Pierce because he's our deep threat guy, and we've seen him find similar success with Flacco, throwing him the ball. Looking ahead at the season, we've got a home game against the Miami Dolphins, who will be starting Tyler Huntley. So no Tua in that matchup. After that, we go at Houston, then face the Minnesota Vikings, host the Buffalo Bills, head to New York to take on the Jets, and finally face Detroit. All of a sudden, we're staring down some of the best teams in the league. The Bills are 4-2 after a big win. The Jets, with one of the best defenses, now have Devontae Adams. The Vikings are sitting at 5-0. The Texans are 4-1 with one of the best defenses and plenty of offensive weapons. The Dolphins are no joke either. They've been tough all season, holding opposing quarterbacks to some of the lowest numbers. So, for Richardson, this game is going to be a test. He's got to get it going because we've seen how the offense moves under Flacco. We saw Flacco manage the game, take care of the ball, be accurate, and make some really nice throws. Honestly, I don't think we would win that game against the Titans if Richardson were in there. I'd bet money we lost that one. Against the Titans, their defense was relentless. We know they love to blitz and come after the QB, and their secondary had a solid game, right? So Flacco, because of his experience, having played football for so long, was able to manage it. I mean, he was drafted so long ago that I don't even remember the year, but the man's 39 years old. So he's been playing football for practically as long as Richardson has been alive. It's crazy. Richardson's mother is the same age as Joe Flacco. Looking at the Colts, they're 3-3. This is a team with a lot of potential. If we break down the games, we lose. The Jacksonville game, that's on the defense. The Packers game, some turnovers and the fact that we didn't have JT in the 4th quarter. And the Texans game, that was just a tough one. We couldn't stop the run. So honestly, the biggest issue for the Colts right now isn't even Richardson. It's our run defense, and it's been trash. Our secondary was solid against the Titans, but against the Jags, it was rough. Let's be real. Trevor Lawrence had his best game of the year against us. The guy threw for, 371 yards, averaging 10.9 per pass, with 2 touchdowns and just 1 pick, completing 28 of 34 passes. That's some crazy efficiency. The problem for the Colts this season has been consistency on defense. We've seen some flashes, but we need that consistent performance every week, especially if we're aiming to be competitive in this division. A lot of that is because we have a young secondary, and it's definitely banged up, right? Juju Brent, we lost him before the season, and now we're scrambling to fill that gap. So I think Chris Ballard needs to step up and become a buyer at the trade deadline, because at 3-3, the Colts are right there in the mix. Nobody's expecting them to take the division, and no one's putting them in the Super Bowl conversation. But if we can get to 10 wins, that would be a huge step forward. We won 9 games last year. Taking a step backwards as a franchise is not the move. Now, Richardson, we believe in him. I think he's the future, no doubt about it. I'm not giving up on him long term. But right now, if you've got a chance to win football games, you need to take it. You look at the Panthers. They benched Bryce Young, and suddenly they're a lot more competitive. For the Colts, it wasn't exactly a benching. Richardson got hurt. But since then, the team has looked much better. And Joe Flacco, he's not your ordinary backup. If we were talking about Sam Ehlinger, I'd understand the hesitation, but this is Joe Flacco we're talking about. Just last season, he led the Browns to the playoffs. And look at how the Browns are struggling now without him. I'm just not going to feel confident about this team if Richardson comes back and he's inaccurate, missing throws high, not really knowing where to go with football. We know that's going to happen too, because let's face it, the guy's barely played football. Last season, he got off to a really good start, but that was mainly because there wasn't a lot of tape on him. Once teams started to game plan against him, we saw the struggles. It was the same in preseason, and again, in training camp against the Bengals, those 11-on-11 drills showed some of his flaws. So honestly, it feels like the Colts are trying to force the issue and push things too soon. Yeah, they used a high draft pick on him, and I get it. They want to give him the reps and snaps because he's the franchise guy. But at this point, you've got Shane Steichen, who I would argue is one of the best coaches in football. He took the Colts from being a 4-win team to a 9-win team last year with Gardner Minshew as the backup. And Minshew is benched right now for Aiden O'Connell, but let's not forget he was a Pro Bowler. Granted, the Pro Bowl isn't what it used to be, but still, the Colts were legit last year. They were literally 15 yards away from winning the division and knocking the Texans out of the playoffs. Now, the Colts believe they have an even better team this year, but the inconsistency in the passing attack has been holding them back. Sure, the Colts can run the ball. JT is going to be coming back. Let's see if we can get an update on him. I haven't heard much, but JT hopes to return to practice this week after 2 games off. So if he gets in some practice, he should be good to go on Sunday against the Dolphins. We're going to need him, no doubt. We need to run the ball better, especially with Richardson at QB. We're probably going to be running the ball 54% of the time, using play actions to help him out, getting him on bootlegs, and rolling him out of the pocket. I do believe we can win some games with Richardson, but my concern is the consistency in the passing attack. We just haven't seen it yet, and until we do, that's going to be the big question mark for this team. Hopefully we can establish the run game early because we've got to win this game, man. Sitting at 3-3 is already disappointing. Yeah, 3-3. There's plenty of football left, and we're still in the race, but chasing the Texans for the division? That's got to be the goal. Winning the division. We dropped one against the Jags, a game we should have won. Same thing against the Packers. I feel like the Colts really should have taken that one too. And then there's the game in Lambeau, Week 2, and the Texans game. Both losses by just 2 points. So yeah, all 3 of our losses have been by 6 points or less. But a loss is still a loss. It's not like this team is far off. But I really believe we've got a good enough team to compete in this conference and this division. What I'm hoping for on Sunday is a different Richardson, a version we haven't really seen yet. The one we've seen so far? It's been a struggle. We only got 1 drive out of Week 4. But yeah, I'm hoping for the best because Richardson is one of my favorite players and he's our guy. But you must ask, is this going to backfire, man? Is this really going to backfire? And honestly, it feels like this decision falls on Shane Steichen. If it's up to him, that's the big question, right? I don't know for sure, but I have to think this is on Steichen. It doesn't seem like a GM or an owner move. This feels like Shane Steichen saying, hey, I want to open the playbook. We're more dynamic, we're more versatile with Anthony Richardson. So we must trust his vision, because let's be real, look at what he's done for us, man. He took us from one of the worst seasons I've seen as a Colts fan and put us in a position to make the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen this season, but Richardson reaching his full potential is going to be the key to any Super Bowl run. For now, though, Joe Flacco can get the Colts to the playoffs. At best, maybe we win a playoff game if we're lucky, but right now, I want to make the playoffs. We've just got to trust the process, even if it means dealing with some growing pains along the way.